What's the most bizarre reason that someone broke up with you? She didn't like that I didn't like she cheated. Reminds me of a time where a redditor in the comments of an old post had a friend who had their PS4 smashed by their girlfriend because he broke up with her since the GF was caught cheating on him. I'm blonde and was landscaping at the time, so my hair was lighter in the summer. In January she accused me of dyeing my hair because it wasn't the same color as when we had started seeing each other and said she couldn't be with a guy that was that vain. I didn't even correct her. She was kinda dumb, OBV, and was never really good at conversation. She was cheating, fixing to cheat on you and looking for any reason to break up with you where she could tell herself and her echo chamber of friends that you were the problem. Can we do the most bizarre reasons we broke up with someone? I broke up with a guy after he got intensely jealous of me shaving my armpits. I broke up with a girl in elementary school because she wouldn't stop pretending to be a horse. I kinda regret it. I've not even held hands with a girl since then. Not break up, but in the 9th grade I refused to go out with a girl who really liked me and who I had a connection with because her name was Patty and I didn't want to date a girl named Patty. She was pretty and all that. I just didn't want after to say to people this is my girlfriend, Patty. Looking back I realize how petty that was of me. But at the time I thought it was a perfectly valid reason. Edit, actually, you know what? It's still a valid reason. FCKU Patty. Next time go by Patricia. She broke up with me because I was out of her league. So she wanted to end the relationship before she got too deep of feelings. Since we would inevitably break up in the future. I feel where she's coming from though. I've said no to dates with guys because they're too good for me and it would only lead to heartache later on. Yes, I sound like a crazy person, but I've been hurt. It's not fun. Try to avoid where posse. And surprisingly still very much single, lol. I had a girl get up and leave as we were fooling around on the bed because I had a Green Bay Packer flag in the inside of my closet door. The door was ajar enough for her to see it. She said she doesn't date football fans. My ex-hubby is a football fan. It was a huge issue because he watched every game, professional and college. Then college basketball started. So I really only had a partner a few months a year at best. Not saying you are that WSY, but I get it. My brother broke up with a girl because she didn't get Seinfeld. I dated a guy who insisted we weren't in a relationship, but also wanted to not sleep with other people either. I wasn't really interested in anything serious, so that was fine with me. Then he dumped me for dancing with another guy at a house party when he literally refused to dance with me when I asked. I was confused how I could be dumped when he explicitly said we weren't in a relationship. But also, he told me to go find someone else to dance on when I had asked him to dance. Like, bro, WTF do you want? Disappointed in myself for eating his ass. He didn't deserve it. I had a girl test dump me for not believing in God. 3 days later, she told me it was a test. And for real dumped for me not chasing after her. She was in her 30s. He told me I needed to embrace myself. And come out. Kind enough. But I am not a lesbian. LMAO guy I was with had 3 GFs turn lesbian and ghost him. Then I come along. I'm not really into DCK and really wasn't into him in a sexual way. After a few months, I began questioning if I was a lesbian. Poor guy must have thought something was wrong with him. XD. A friend of my GF's mom called her and told my GF that she had a dream where God told her that someone was pushing her away from the ways of the Lord. She called me crying that she didn't want to leave but that her duty with the Lord came before everything. That was about 2 years ago. She now has another boyfriend who, I've heard, it's not a very good person. We were together for 4 years and I truly loved her. I'm still in love with her. Open bracket. She got mad at me for killing her in Among Us. She was dead serious. We were dating for like 5 months and got mad and I haven't talked to her since. Like TFFFFFFF. He told me I was too immature for him and that I didn't know what I wanted out of life yet. I was 25, he was 29. I studied full time, he worked 75% retail, to which I drove him most days. I had my own budding business outside of the studies. He took a distance programming course. I answered calls from suicidal LGBT youth. P. was really good with supporting the team through WoW raids. I was too good a cook compared to her. Apparently she was firmly of the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, and me knowing my way around a kitchen like a boss was the equivalent of preferring to masturbate than have sex with her. Her cooking was indeed shit. By the way, my husband being a better cook than me was a key selling point. I can technically cook, but I hate doing it and see nothing wrong with eating cereal for dinner on a regular basis. Our kids actively complain if he's out of town and I have to make dinner. I know my ex dumped me, but I wanna be friends with her and try to see if she'll still talk to me, so I don't want get to feel uncomfortable. My ex broke up with me after I told her I wasn't comfortable with her going and helping her ex redecorate his room. Alone at his house. Turns out she'd been cheating on me with him for months before that anyway. Because I wouldn't have sex with her at moment's notice. She'd want to have sex whenever she wanted. Like stop the apartment by at odd times and just make her way into my room and expect sex. Regardless of who else was here. When I'd wanted she wasn't interested. Came to the house at 11 PM once and I was getting ready for bed. I opened the door and told her I wasn't interested. When she realized she wasn't getting her way, she screamed and I shut the door. To her and my dismay, people didn't gather and ask questions like she wanted. So the next day she ghosted me. I texted and called a few times but didn't hear from he. I figured it's a blessing in disguise and didn't bother anymore. Because I didn't do the things he refused to tell me he wanted me to do. He would be sulky and thought that if I really loved him I would be able to read his mind and know what he had gone sulky about. Guess what? I don't read minds. I subconsciously decided my BF knew what I wanted and what I thought was important and should be done first. It blew up and we had a huge fight. Complete with separating for a few days. Once I realized what I was doing I felt horrible. I was completely unreasonable in my expectations and not communicating. We talked it out and we both made some changes. A girl broke up with me because she said I was too good of a person. Once she called me out because when we got in the car I put my seatbelt on. Said that I'm not the kind of guy that takes risks. When we broke up I regained the IQ points she made me lose. Bro, the seatbelt convos are a huge red flag when it comes to how many brain cells you're going to have to sacrifice in order to get laid. You're in too deep when you've hit seatbelt convos. That is anti-vax level brain cell loss. It's a full level below. Well, we don't agree politically entirely and it's 2020. It scores so low because it combines the sheer not giving a FCK about other people with the truly stunning stupidity of people who think science is a lie. Like it's just non-negotiable that they are a good idea and not wearing them is a bad and selfish idea. I didn't drink and was therefore no fun. This was after 2 dates. Both at coffee shops. I later found out from a mutual friend that the girl I dated was an alcoholic. I once had a girl get up from the couch and walk towards the door of my condo. Then she stopped, looked at me, and said, "I can't do this anymore." I said, "What?" and she said, I just hate everything about you." Then she walked out. The funny thing is that we weren't even arguing. Funnier thing is that she walked back in after about 30 seconds and told me I was supposed to have gone after her. The SX was amazing though. Because, in her words, she couldn't build a life with someone who would not be picked up during the rapture. Keep in mind that I was baptized, raised, and confirmed Lutheran and have been a church-going Christian my entire life. She had been saved as an adult and had been more of an apostolic bent. But apparently since my walk with Christ had not been exactly the same as hers, then it was invalid somehow. I guess the point of the parable of the workers in the vineyard was completely lost on her. I don't know, bro. She just texted me one day. Quote unquote, "I want to break up with you. Don't reply to this." She didn't give a reason. I didn't bother to ask for one cause I ain't tryna lose my time. I can only suppose she couldn't handle the neutron style. Her parents told her to. She was 20. Work. The dating game sucks. I have a thing for Asian men. I'm just attracted to them. The problem was, I had to ask them how their families would feel about us dating. Quite often the guys would say they wouldn't be happy. Then I'd ask if they would go against their parents' wishes. Most wouldn't. Then that would be the end of that. Most guys had honestly not even thought about it. Doesn't matter how much they liked me. Their families always came first. Which is fair enough. When I met my boyfriend we had the conversation. 3 of us 4 sisters are married and they all married white men. It was never an issue. His parents and family seemed to like me. His mum's only complaint was we live too far away from each other. His mum is now pestering him about marriage and grandkids. She has 6 already. Which is quite terrifying. We've not even attempted living together yet. When I ended it with my FWB he said, and I quote, "It's fine I have a pizza pocket." Because I didn't buy her a card for her birthday. Gifts? Yup. Spent the day with her? Yup. Spent hours with my face between her thighs? Yup. Made a delicious home cooked meal she said she wanted? Yup. Buy her a $1.50 Hallmark card? Nope. Worst boyfriend ever. But the reality was that she was only seeing me in hopes I'd make her boss, a man 25 years her senior, jealous enough to leave his wife for her. When it didn't work, she resented my presence because it was a constant reminder of what an awful human being she is. I didn't like that he and his ex went to celebrate the date they got in a relationship while he was dating me. Obviously I was the crazy one for not particularly appreciating that he and his ex are something else. When he broke up with me I told him I would see him at their wedding. She was bored while I was at work. Broke up with me after she FK'd her weed hookup. Why? I've thought about it for years. Why not just text hey this isn't working then bang the other guy? Either I FK'd the weed dealer. I'm gonna break up with you or I gonna break up with you so I can FCK the weed dealer. We all know what she went for. Only one person has broke up with me. Said I was too clingy. That was true. I also think I didn't respect her boundaries, intimacy and space being 2 of them. Side note. I never realized only one person broke up with me until now. Interesting insight. Not sure what to do with it. Because I wouldn't have sex with him after getting injured. I sprained an ankle. And I kid you not in his own words he said you could have at least given me a blowjob. A guy, 31, left me after a year and a half because he was sad that his grandpa died. He really did die. Why did he really break up with me? He found fresh PSSY on Bumble. Found real love 4 months later though. We've been together 2 years. The best line I've received is the classic "our relationship isn't pleasing to God." This was in 9th grade in the southern US. So not the most uncommon excuse among religious youth. Was drinking and hanging out with a guy. After fooling around we get even drunker and he tells me he used to kill stray dogs and cats as a kid. I called him an Uber and locked my damn door. He was too jealous of other guys who were into me even though I was completely loyal. It was long distance so I guess I kinda understand but I still found it weird. Maybe he was cheated on in the past? I've been cheated on in the past and even though I know my girlfriend is super loyal I sometimes still get overwhelmed with jealousy by the smallest things. Luckily she understands and comforts me every time it happens. Because I started going bald. I'm not bothered though. It's hair loss. Not me but my friend. Her ex broke up with her because she got some money for her birthday and posted a pic on Snapchat with the caption, "I love money." He thought this was materialistic and disgusting. They had been dating for a year by that time and he's poor as dirt. She just loved him. She's not materialistic. We had been talking for a day over an app. Things were going pretty well. Although she was asking some pretty deep questions. But whatever. A girl was interested in talking to me. I didn't care. It was lunchtime and I asked what she was having. And she said her company ordered in Qdoba. I said I was more of a Chipotle person myself. She unmatched me. Vertical bar. I once went out with a guy and was with him for a while and thought everything was okay, then one night he sat me down and said, I only went out with you for your own sake to see if I could get you to quit smoking, but you can't. He never mentioned me smoking while we dated. Yes, I realize it's an unpleasant habit, and I later found out it was actually a bet he had with his mates. Nice guy. Didn't trust men again for a while. I mean, who dates someone for a bet to get them to stop smoking? He stopped by when I was eating chips and salsa and I told him he couldn't have any because he had a very low heat tolerance and it wasn't mild salsa. Now, I'd previously teased him about him not liking spicy food, but I guess he just took it wrong that day and it didn't help that a couple of his friends were there. So he grabbed a chip and got a big old scoop and full stop. Full stop. Well, he ended up coughing and sputtering and basically accusing me of trying to kill him. He broke up with me over medium salsa. Fell out of love with me. Which is fair. But it was like 5 days after confessing his love for me and making me promise not to ever leave him. I now realize that should have been a huge red flag. But 16-year-old me, desperate for a reason to force myself to come out of the closet, did not care at the time. I broke up with a girl because she was mad that I could throw an axe and hit the center of the target every time and she couldn't. She was a forestry major and she took me to the woodlot where we climbed poles. I beat her. Threw axes. I beat her again. We sawed logs. I beat her again. And she finally threw a hissy fit and demanded that I just let her win. We were practicing for an upcoming couples match where my proficiency would have benefited us both. My friend's husband asked for a divorce unexpectedly. He told her it was because he met a really great woman he thought might be the one. Then he found out that his crush had a live-in boyfriend and also she didn't think he, friend's husband, was her type. She, the wife, told him no backsies. Back in junior high, middle school, a girl broke up with me because I doubled over in pain when she hit me in the nuts by mistake. She said I was only seeking attention and that it didn't hurt that much. She didn't like that I didn't want to talk about her potentially fking random friends. Also the fact that I thought it was weird that apparently every single guy friend she's ever had has talked at length about wanting to FCK her. I was cheating on her with my friend, who not only was lesbian, but we both had no feelings for each other. Funny thing is though, I found out a year later she was in 2 other relationships. He said he didn't like my cat because he was a dog person and cats are too malicious. That was 4, almost 5 years ago. He now has 4 cats. I thought I'd feel more for you by now. Together 6 months. I was besotted. Absolute sucker punch. Took a long time to get my self-esteem back, but mutual friends told me about his new, who he met while we were dating, so obviously dumped me for her girlfriend and said it was weird because we were very similar but I was too. 0 of her, so no one really understood why he broke up with me to downgrade. Still sucked but kind of helped people judge him. I have been dropped twice in 2 different cities for the same reason. I work with wounded vets. It's easy for me to build solid relationships with them. Because I am also a decorated wounded vet. These programs have a lot of volunteers that come and so I meet a lot of women. A lot more women volunteer than men. The volunteers hear the stories I tell. The things us vets talk about. And see everything that goes on. I had a woman in Baltimore and Seattle both dump me because I don't carry myself as a tough guy decorated war vet. In other words, I wasn't an arrogant enough asshole for them. Fuck em all. I'm going back to one night stands. I broke up with a girl after 2 years because she wanted to move in with friend. Male. For the 2nd year of grad school. Lo and behold. 9 months later they were engaged. All she ever talked about was him. Because I have a bacteria in my throat and when we kiss, it activates infection in his throat. He was a pro volleyball player. So his coach told him to choose between love and career. He couldn't train because of the infection. He chose career. We were 13 years old. So I've had 2 people break up with me for the same reason. I'm a ro. I'm a woman. And have tried to get into relationships with women twice. After a while. A month for one. 3 months for the other. Both came out as trans men. A while after that. Both discovered they were gay. Not into women at all. And dumped me. Like I don't resent either of them for it. And I'm still friends with both guys. But what are the chances of it happening twice? Am I cursed? Amongst her list of BS reasons was that I was a picky eater. Her real reason was that even though I was a year older than her, and had made her senior homecoming special, she had not spent any of the dance with me. She had hooked up with her ex-girlfriend and wanted to get back together with her. I was 19. She lived like 45 minutes away. She couldn't drive. I always burned a ton of gas to see her. Michigan gas was not cheap at the time. I loved her and all of the memories we had made together. But I guess that wasn't enough for her. I did fix my picky eating habits because of her initial comment, though. And I'm gonna ask my current beau to marry me. My dad divorced my mum. His reasoning was she took too long to tell a story. Meanwhile my dad was the one who was cheating. Had a mistress and was into sex clubs. So glad he's out of our lives. Not quite a bizarre reason but bizarre circumstances. We were going into junior year of high school and she wanted to refocus herself on her schoolwork and she didn't want to try and keep up our relationship while that happened. But she told me all of this about 7 days into a 9-day vacation with her family in a wood cabin on a lake. I spent the next 2 days still basically dating but with the knowledge that it was over after this. She left me because the other boy had a F-King motorcycle. It was some of those huge 1000cc ones. It was 50cc Hamachi. Weird things used to happen when we were younger. Had been dating for about a month and a half. Was enjoying it enough to continue and had plans to hang out that upcoming Saturday and Sunday. It was snowing. So he calls me wanting to skip work to go sledding. Cute. But I have deadlines and a mortgage. It's Friday and I tell him I can't. Devolves into him telling me we don't spend enough time together and how he thought we should break up. Sorry you feel that way. Guess we'll break up. Double quote. Not sure how you go from skip work to go sledding with me to let's break up. But ATM think I dodged a bullet. My ex-wife cheated on me with her Catholic conversion mentor. They couldn't get the marriage annulled in the US. So they did it in Eastern Europe. The gymnastics of hypocrisy and rationalization were astounding to me at the time. But wiser and older me now knows that this is typical of religion. Especially with the zealots. Not the breaker but the breaky. A girl broke things off after 2 dates because I was too cheerful positive. Sorry I didn't want to burden you with all my baggage and anxieties from the get-go. Sorry I was trying to give off a good impression so that, I dunno, maybe you'd want to keep seeing me and get to know me better. Including all the less than positive stuff in my life down the line. I guess I should have known better. Guy was a few years younger than me. Was super nice and kinda churchy. Told me he wanted to work on his relationship with God. I remember thinking, wow. God. The almighty creator. How can I compete with that? Double quote. Oh. It wasn't my breakup but there was a club meeting and I heard one of the upperclassmen teasing his batchmate that she broke up with her boyfriend because his toes were ugly. Not me but a friend of mine broke up with his girlfriend just because he got bored of her and wanted a relationship with another girl. It's not really bizarre but rather sad. She told me, I like you. You're attractive. I just don't like what comes with dating. Cool. Hurts but okay. Then a few months later she is dating one of my friends and they hide it from me. That really messed me up because I started thinking perhaps I done something wrong. From what I gather they do a lot of drugs together and I never used drugs so I wonder if that played a part. I had a girlfriend in junior high. At the time I was into geology and had a rock collection. I had given her my favorite rock. Saying she didn't like the gift is an understatement and she no longer wanted to be my girlfriend. It's not like it was her birthday, I just thought she might like it. Whatever. I gave my wife a rock and she married me. She went on a session with her friends where they got that spirit board that you ask things with a glass on the board and the spirit will answer your questions. The spirit said I cheated on her. I didn't. But she broke up because she believed the spirit. My first girlfriend ever when I was like 13. Used to flirt with this other guy all the time in front of me. I told her I didn't like it and she dumped me and started dating him right after lol. A couple weeks later they break up. And him and I become friends because of our mutual hatred of her. Haha. Her mom called me. About 5 days before I was supposed to visit her for Christmas. It was my only vacation of the year. Her mom told me I was putting too much pressure on her for a relationship. Even though we had been dating for 2 years at that point. Homie and I dated for 2 years before he left me for a girl we work with. Then a month later cheated on her with me and got back together with me. Fast forward 1 more month and he broke up with me because I started watching a new TV series without him. Fast forward 1 more month and his new GF is pregnant and I'm depressed lol. I wanted to attend college parties. Mind you, this was pre-COVID and my senior year of high school when I had just been accepted into the school of my dreams. He wasn't religious. Just didn't want me hanging around college dudes. Because he apparently decided that his abusive, drug-addicted ex-GF deserved another chance and proposed to her. Months later, she ended up screwing him over again, robbed him, and left him heartbroken. I guess he preferred that, rather than a stable relationship with me. A fully transgendered, surgery and all, MTF, got into a lesbian relationship with a neighbor. And wasn't into men anymore. I think. Years later. That damaged my sense of everything. She was mad that I could not stay up late and watch a movie because it was Tuesday night. She walked out the door at 11 PM after holding my sleep up for an hour. What it really was that I had a 9 to 5 job and I just couldn't sit at home and smoke weed all day like her ex. She broke up with me because her ex cheated on her with a guy. And now she wanted to date her ex's cousin just to make her ex jealous. And she didn't want it to hurt me. Beautiful girl TBH. Crazy AF too. That I was taking our relationship too seriously and he felt bad because he could tell I wanted the type of relationship he wasn't emotionally prepared to give me. That wasn't bizarre in of itself. But he was 26. We weren't even using the girlfriend-boyfriend label. And the event that made him think I was getting serious was me saying we could go to a music festival by ourselves that all our friends bailed on going to. To make things even more weird, I had to pull this out of him when he was acting distant and looking uncomfortable when we were hanging out after I'd gotten back from a 2-week trip. I hope I never have to ask someone, are you trying to break up with me? Again. Her friends spread false rumors about me saying that I had replaced her. And they got to her. She believes me now and we might be getting back together soon. So that's good. I made a very obvious don't you know what today is? How could you forget? Joke and he decided that meant I was a belittler and a bitch. Even though we bantered a lot during the year we were together. Turns out he was hooking up with an ex for most of the time we were together. So it was probably just what he used as an excuse to break up with me for her. I got dumped by text message on the 3-month anniversary of us meeting. Was told he wasn't looking for something serious. And I'm like, huh? We were just hanging out. Having fun and just seeing it where it went. I never said anything about it being serious. I think it's because he had introduced me to his friends and some of them started teasing him about having a girlfriend even though we hadn't had that conversation. He was 20 and I was 28. My liver thanked me for the breakup. All he and his friends did all weekend was drink non-stop. Guy held on to issues for months and never told me because he hoped they would fix themselves on their own. Granted, this guy didn't seem to want a relationship. He just wanted a friend who wanted to hang out with his roommates. I wasn't remotely sad about that relationship ending. I asked him to move out after breaking my spaghetti. He clearly didn't know me. We'd had little conversations about my hate of broken spaghetti. It was just that nail in the coffin that made me realize we weren't reading from the same book, let alone on the same page. He was also willfully ignorant of any problems in the relationship. There's having a positive outlook and then there's choosing to be blind. Not someone breaking up with me, but this is just wrong. In high school I broke up with nice guy because there was no way I could bring him home to my racist stepdad. The song Everybody Talks by Neon Trees made him realize that yes, everybody does cheat. He then cheated with a girl a year younger than me. He told me, expected me to laugh and agree. I did not. He broke up with me and called me a prude. I was 17. He was 21. IDKY, I didn't see all the red flags before this moment. He wanted to use long distance dating as the excuse. Little did he know I knew it was because he was still in love with his ex and even confronted him about it mid-breakup only to be met with denial. I broke up with a girl named Nancy and told her it was because my sister was a Nancy, true, who was married to a Jared and my name was Jared and it would be too crazy when we all got together. My name has been changed to protect the guilty. Said I was too much to handle because I had bright yellow hair. But I had bright yellow hair when we met and started dating. Now sure how it was suddenly a deal breaker. He was supposed to come stay in mine for the weekend. But on the Friday I started feeling like I had the cold and by that evening it was a full-blown flu. I text him like, sorry but I'm absolutely dying right now. Can we cancel this weekend? We can do something next weekend. He then broke up with me because if I thought it was acceptable to not see him for shock horror a whole 7 days then I clearly wasn't right for him. Twat. Because she didn't like the city where my house was. Not even a bad city. Not any worse than hers anyway. I've never been broken into. Unlike her old places twice. And she was my wife of 6 whole months. Waiting on the divorce papers to go through the court. She's back in her mom's tiny apartment now. I married a genius it seems. Edit. Not joking. That was literally the only reason. Because I made plans when he was busy. He said all week he didn't think he'd be free. I waited until Friday afternoon. Still wasn't free so I made plans for Saturday with my friend who had waited patiently all week knowing I had just started seeing this guy and wanted to see him. Saturday midday he says he's free. Let's go out. I told him I made plans. He blew up saying everything always had to be about me and I never considered him. He was done because it would clearly never be about him or his needs. Thanks for showing your ass early on, dude. Saved me some time. I had actually forgotten about the wall thing and came across the texts this week as I was deleting stuff. Close bracket.